All right. Good afternoon. We're here with Ronnie on our first ERC podcast, where we help small businesses understand what there is out there to help them grow their business, what these industry specialists have been working on for decades, and see how they can apply it to their own business. So today we got Ronnie from Meridian Studio. Ronnie's been in the film and digital agency space for over 10 years. I want him to make an intro about where he's at, and the questions we're trying to solve today, or get deeper insight into, is why have a digital presence. So first, Ronnie, want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you, Joe, for having me on the podcast. Very excited to be on the first episode here, and helping business owners really understand how to kind of get their digital presence going, get digital marketing that actually generates business for them, that actually grows. So a little bit about me and my journey. So I started a video production company fresh out of college in 2014. Me and Joe went to the same college at the University of Florida. Go Gators! And so that's where we met. And so we go way, way back, and have been kind of part of each other's entrepreneurial and career journeys for quite some time now. And for me, my journey kind of really began with video production, and very quickly became about marketing. And I help businesses, startups create marketing videos that help them grow, help them introduce, what kind of complex technology they might be selling. And today that's blossomed into a business that works with all kinds of companies, companies that are working in software, companies that develop space hardware like rocket engines and satellite buses. I work with companies who are doing other kinds of stuff like, doing digital, training, in-person training, converting that to a digital online video course for their students so they can expand and really start serving a much bigger audience than a brick and mortar location could. And so for me, the really exciting thing and the reason why digital marketing is important is because it opens you up to a much larger audience. And as a local business, or a business that is, you're kind of restricted to your local area. But as soon as you start going online, you open yourself up to the world. And so digital marketing is how you leave a breadcrumb that people can follow and find and end up at your services so that they can get value from what you do. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Excellent. No, that helps. That helps understand that with the digital presence, you can kind of expand your aperture of who could be your potential clients. You can help build trust. So how have you seen the evolution with more, perhaps like YouTube being a great arm to use, or have you seen always like newsletters be prominent, or the different trends in the last 2 years that you've seen gain traction?
Yeah, so the way the landscape is in the current age, right? And I'm thinking right now of companies that are either solo founder, or a small to medium sized business. The main thing, obviously, networking, and always, doing your best to grow your network, expand your network, cultivate your network. Joe, you're a pro at this. You've always been fantastic at reaching out to people on a regular basis, and maintaining friendships, and just being a part of people's lives. So that's kind of at the foundation. Don't forget to do that. And then on top of that, you know, something that I think that a lot of businesses kind of sleep on, that I think is probably even before social media, is email marketing. I slept on it for a long time, and I didn't really see the value of it, but now I really understand how important it is to have a list of your contacts. It probably starts with your network and your clients that you keep in regular contact with, and you share, you share your thoughts, your, on where things are going, on where things have been, and just interesting content and ideas and updates that you can send people on a weekly or a monthly basis, but probably more a weekly basis, that just educate them, that give them something of value, that keep you top of mind. And because it's email marketing, you're getting delivered. 100% of your messages are getting delivered to 100% of your email list. And that's not what happens on social media. On social media, you can post and a bunch of people won't see it, right? Even if they already follow you because of how the algorithms work. So when you collect someone's email, you own that, right? They've given you permission to send them communications. And so that's really important because, every month you can, ask for a sale, right? Hey, like I'm looking for clients for this, or I'm launching that. We've got this new product that's going here. You have a list and you're promoting what you do. The rest of the time you're just giving, giving, giving. And then, once every 3 or 4 weeks, you can make an ask. And that's how, that's for modern digital marketing. Email marketing is just extremely important. It keeps you top of mind. It keeps people educated on understanding of the value that they could be getting from working with you, and then allows you to make a direct ask, once it's time. And so I would highly recommend that as a foundation. On top of networking, then email marketing. On top of email marketing, that's where you can start getting into social media. That's where you start growing your audience. And of course, there's there's so many different platforms that you can do that on. There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn. Those are kind of the main ones that people use to grow their businesses. People, of course, are on X. Really depends. Like, where are your customers? Where do they spend time, right? What platforms do you enjoy consuming? Those are the ones that you're probably going to make content for. And for that, and once you've kind of picked the platform, what type of content, you really have to just like have a foundational, system that captures people's interest and, gets them onto your email list. Essentially, that's your goal, is to either get them to a landing page that, gets them to the sale, right? Gets them to a conversion, or you have some type of lead magnet. It could be a guide, right, to some kind of complex industry or some kind of complex problem or solution. It could be maybe an audit, kind of like, that they answer a few questions and they, maybe get a strategy or some kind of recommendation or some type of assessment that lets them know where they're at. It's valuable enough for someone to give you their email so they can receive that. And now you have their email and you can start sending them marketing communications. But those two things, you make content that's, interesting, that's valuable, that educates them on the problem or the solution. And you're telling them to go take an action at the end of this content, right? Follow me, go to this page, do that, leave a comment that says X, Y, and Z, and I'll send you this guide or whatever. And that's how you start, building this flywheel where you start posting content, people start seeing it, a certain percentage of that are going to take the action, and now you have their contact info, and that's how content starts generating, leads and growing your business.
Excellent. So then you would say, with the email marketing first level, then some social media presence, whether LinkedIn or X or TikTok, and then is the top of the pyramid of the needs YouTube, or is that included within social media?
I think that the top, so you got to think of content as being two things. There's different ones. There is um, there is short form content, which is Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, stuff that can be consumed pretty quickly. Then you have long form content, which it used to be blogs. Blogs used to be very long form content, but the internet has kind of moved away from that now towards more, high energy content. YouTube is long form content now. It's more difficult to make. But long form content allows you to go in depth, and it allows you, imagine short form content as like, being as like a billboard. It can stop and it can get your attention, and maybe it gives you some value, but they're only a few minutes long at most, right? You're only going to spend a few minutes with that. Versus long form, that's like a whole people, some of these videos are like 10, 20, 30 minutes long. There's long form videos that are literally hours long, that are huge compilations, or like the whole course, a whole explanation of like how to use, AI, for example. There's plenty of ones that are hours and hours long, and people watch them. They have millions of views. YouTube, the average like view, like, video session is like 30 minutes long, I think, something like that. Like it's crazy. YouTube is now the number one most watched thing on connected television. So on people's TVs that are connected to the internet is the number one watched thing. Like more than cable, more than Netflix. It has more users than anything. So YouTube is a huge opportunity, but I wouldn't start at YouTube. I would start at email marketing, then graduate to doing short form content. And once you've built an audience, right, on both of those, you've built your own audience that you own via email, then you have, content that expands your reach, it gets you in front of more people. Um, then you started to learn the content game. At that point, then you're probably ready because it's going to take a lot to start doing YouTube. You're going to want camera gear. You're probably going to want someone who's shooting and editing, and so by then you want content to kind of have already been working for you.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's where YouTube sits. It really is one of the last ones.
Yeah. So you've had a breadth of clientele over the last 10 or so years. What have been some of the hesitations or reasons why your clients still were hesitant on getting into any digital marketing? How do you overcome those? Is there such thing as a business that's just not great for online? Once they started, were they like, wow, this is amazing, this is easy, it's not as daunting as I thought? Just curious for those who are kind of on the edge there.
Yeah, I think when it comes to my side of things, it's very focused on video. A lot of the way that people think of video is to make something that looks really good and looks really nice. And so when they think of it through that term, into that kind of lens, it's like, what is a video really going to do for me, right? Like it's going to, look nice and introduce me. And that's really actually true. If you're only making a video and you only put it on your website, you don't promote it, you're not really doing anything special with it, then yeah, it's not really worth the time. The only time that making a video, that doing video content really works and actually, is an actual system that generates demand and gets you leads is when you have to create a system around it that finds new people, tells them to go to this place and take an action there, right? If you're a person who wants this outcome or you're struggling with this problem, go here, right? And someone who's, dealing with that problem, like, okay, this person sounds credible, sounds like they know what they're talking about. Maybe they're showing some case studies or some results that they've gotten some of their customers. They work in my industry. Let me see how it works, right? And you watch a video on how it works, and the video tells you, you know, uh, book a meeting, right? Now that you know how it works, and if sounds right. So that's when video works. So I think a lot of them, when it comes to hesitancy, it tends to be because they're thinking of video kind of from like a TV commercial perspective of like, we're gonna make this nice looking video, we're gonna put it out there one time, and that's it, right? But that's not how video works anymore. You have to create this funnel essentially, and you have to keep feeding it by creating new content that gets more eyeballs. A certain percentage of that are going to go to that landing page and take that action. So that's the main sort of hesitancy that I see. The other hesitancy, it can be a little awkward to get on camera, right? I started to actually, it took me a long time. I started to get in front of the camera this year. And I've been behind the camera for like, since 2014, and only just now, 12, 13 years later that I'm getting, behind in front of the camera. And so, it's a little awkward at first, and but I think, especially if you look at younger people today, I mean, they're all comfortable getting in front of the camera, making like reels and TikTok videos and all that kind of stuff. And I think that for people who are, running more mature businesses, it can just feel like, like, why would I do that? I don't really want to be an influencer or do any of that. But the reality is that, it's kind of just like sales, right? When you're first learning sales, it's a little awkward. It's a little weird to ask people and to ask them for money. But as you kind of mature, you realize that you're helping them, you're providing value, you're having fun, right? You enjoy it. And so that's what content starts to become. So it's either they don't understand how it works and they feel like it wouldn't work, or it's more about like, I don't know, I'm feeling uncomfortable in front of the camera. But the reality is like, if you run a business and you've been doing so for some time, you have expertise. Or if you've been working in industry or starting your own business, you have expertise, right? The trick is like learning how to package that expertise so it gets in front of people, and that's how it's done.
Excellent. So with ERC, as you know, we're helping the businesses improve their bottom line through cutting some costs, getting better pricing, better terms with their vendors. And advertising and marketing is an expense. So what are some tangible examples that you've seen work where you tell that business owner, hey, yes, it will take X amount of your time or Y amount of your money to be able to produce or push this particular marketing campaign, but then you'll see the ROI within 3 months, within 6 months, immediately. One lead pays for the entire marketing. So
Hmm.
tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of that. Some of the higher ticket clients that I work with, you're correct. Like one lead, one success that comes from the marketing pays for the whole thing, right? And so when you're doing something that's very high ticket, um, very expensive, then yeah, absolutely. You spend the money and you make it back and then some, right? I have a client who we turned their as I said earlier, their in-person, CNA training. They train primarily students who are in college to take their CNA exam. They get contact hours. They're pre-med. They got that kind of thing. And so it was an in-person course, and then he was one of my first clients. I had just launched this, like back when I was still living in Gainesville, in 2014, and I worked with them. And I told them back then, turn this into a course online, turn this into a video course, and then like literally like 10 years passed, and he hits me back up, and he says, "I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to make this a video course." We put film a 30 part video course, turn the whole curriculum into it, and then we start cutting up those videos, putting them on YouTube. Half the course is on YouTube. The written portion stays as part of the paid thing. And on the YouTube we put ads, right? We put literally 20 something video. I think like almost all 30 videos went up on there, and each of them is an ad. The first 30 seconds is an ad for the course, right? Because if people are searching for this stuff, they want to pass the exam, and we're telling them, if you want to pass the exam, this is your best bet. This is the best way to pass it. We're going to give you all support, all the things that you need. You have this problem, here's the solution. And fast forward a year, 1 year after this launch, it's made $100,000 for this company. It's a new line of business. We're doubling down on the content, right? We're seeing that we're getting hundreds and hundreds of people who see the videos and then go on their landing page and end up signing up for a free trial and then converting into a paid one. And so and we've had like tens of thousands of views on the videos, and 30 something percent, I think like 34, 35% are people who are searching, right? And so that's the kind of stuff that once you start doing it, you realize like, oh yeah, like people are online looking for this stuff, right? Like you could be one of the people that shows up when they're looking for this kind of stuff. And so it is a little bit of like research and kind of seeing like, are other people making content on this? Do I know that there's a market for it? And if you see kind of that there's crap content basically, or that the providers are not that great, there's your opportunity.
Yeah, I guess if you're not doing it, your competitors are doing it, and they'll get found before you. Also, I feel like it could build some credibility. If you've got the online presence and you have some testimonials or talking about the services you provide online in a longer articulation. When I speak to prospects, sometimes I have 30 seconds, a minute. But if I email them references or links, they can absorb it at their own time, see
Yep.
if things are interesting, and then come back with hey, I took away from this. I want to learn more about this, or it gives you again more credibility as a subject matter expert.
Absolutely.
Trying to
Yeah.
think of like one or two more things just to keep it compact for businesses. Again, it could be solo entrepreneurs. It could be up to 300 employees. That's who we market here at ERC. They may or may not have already an existing marketing department. They may be on the fence of doing in-house versus going and outsourcing it. So what are some ideas or thoughts that you've seen that? Have you ever seen a collaboration between an in-house marketing team and then bringing in external help just for a push or a campaign or a product launch or something?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's very important, right? You want to make sure that your marketing spend is smart, and then it gets your return. And so as you begin scaling out, I think at first, you can do the email stuff on your own. If you're very uncomfortable with it, if you've already got revenue and you're feeling like I'd rather someone help me, then you can start looking at freelancers, right? Freelancers or agencies like mine, who can help you really, from the whole beginning of the strategy to the actual creation of stuff and to the implementation can help you do that without taking on the risk of hiring. So when you hire someone and you're going to bring them on internally, you should already know like how that all works, what it is that they're doing and how that looks. You like, because otherwise you're trusting that they're just going to, you're hoping basically that they can do what they say they're going to do. And if you don't know exactly what that is, then I would not move straight into hiring a full-time person. I would start with freelancers or agencies. And like I said, kind of work your way up the ladder of email marketing, short form content. The thing is, even all the way up to YouTube, you can do all of it yourself. And some business owners do that, and, sometimes the things that get hired out are things like editing or scheduling. People have their virtual assistants do scheduling for social media, sometimes writing for it. There's a couple pieces of the process that you can absolutely and should hire out, right? Because as a business owner, you're going to focus on the things that are generating you revenue, right? If you don't have to do it and it doesn't affect the quality too much, then yeah, get it off your plate. Um, but you want to focus on the places where you're kind of needed. Your expertise, when it comes to content creation, your expertise is kind of like the valuable thing. And so, when you're first starting out, that should definitely come from you. There's so many resources online now to learn how to create content. And then as you start getting more, you can start expanding. Ads are a really important place to invest in as well. Like, there are many businesses that organic content is not the right thing. Like many businesses that are, you know, um, you only buy them every once in a while, right? You're not gonna, those are things where ads work probably better than organic for most people. That some people like have so much fun with their organic content that they still make it work, right? Like you'll see plumbers doing like crazy TikTok videos and it works for them, right? Because they're getting in front of people, and that's the whole name of advertising and marketing, right? It's getting your company in front of people, letting people know what you do. And so there's so many ways to do it, but I would definitely start by trying to do it yourself. If you don't have the revenue, um, do those foundational things first, and then start hiring out, you know, um, as you're ready to expand and you have the revenue to kind of invest in that. And then you'll be able to do so and make sure that you're profitable and all that.
Excellent. I'll end on this question just because it's on everyone's mind over the last couple of years. How have you seen this AI boom change the landscape? We've been hearing about SEO forever, so search engine optimization. Now there's the content search, or the getting picked up by ChatGPT or Claude whenever people search on those. So has that impacted your world, small business world, with marketing, advertising? Are people now making ads through their own AI, but it still looks like AI slop? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic, and I feel like we've only now started to kind of see the contours and the edges of this to really get our arms around how AI impacts marketing. Because, as a consumer of content, I personally, and I think many of people who I know don't like when we realize that something is AI, right? When you realize that this thing is AI and it's trying to pass itself as not AI, that this is organic, real stuff, or written content. LinkedIn, people do this on LinkedIn almost all the time now. I think it kind of destroys your credibility, right? If you're posting on LinkedIn and you're just copy and pasting something that ChatGPT or Claude wrote, it's going to make you look bad, right? Because people are saying, this person literally did put no work into this. This is just AI generated, right? And so as soon as you realize that, you kind of stop taking the content seriously because you realize that the person posting it didn't take it seriously, right? And so, I would say do not post just AI generated content. I think it hurts you more than it helps you. That said, I would use it in the creative process. Use it as a tool, not as the artist, right? You be the artist. You be the person.
Hmm.
The expertise comes from you. Use it as a tool. Prompt it to ask you questions. Prompt it to how can this be better? Like let the don't ever ask it to write stuff for you or even to rewrite it. Like ask it to give you feedback. Ask it to be, you know, a critic. Ask it to help you, but don't ask it to do it for you because when you do that, it's easy to tell, and people don't like it. It just destroys your credibility. On the visual side of things, you know, when it comes to like creating graphics or art, I think it works better there. Um, a little harder to tell that something is AI generated, but I would still like, you know, put your own thought and your own creative effort into that kind of stuff. It just comes through. And here's the other side of it. Okay, now that there is all this AI generated content, like what works better? I think we're going to see a shift more towards videos. I think it's already started to happen, but I think that you're going to see more organic phone recorded content because it looks authentic, it looks real. Um, there are people who are trying to upload an AI avatar of themselves, and they start talking, and after a little bit, you kind of see them blink a little weird, and you kind of realize, wait, that's AI, and it's same problem. It just destroys your credibility. This person put no work into this. Why would I watch this, right? So I think that authentic, real experts sharing like expertise that they earned over a career, sharing lessons from mistakes that they made, systems that have gotten them success, that is going to work really well in an age of AI. It's really about like, showing that you're a genuine human with genuine experiences and expertise to share. Use AI as a tool to help you do more, but don't, like I said, make it be the paintbrush, but not the artist. You got to stay the artist.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Ronnie, I want you to tell the people out there how to find you, your socials, your services. Let them know what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is www.meridian.studio. You can find me there. You can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, just search Ronnie, Ronny Herrera, Herrera. We can put these links in the show notes so you can share it there. But yeah, please, if you're a business who wants to get more into content, start, deploying a system that generates leads by, taking what you're already doing and sharing all the education that's happening in sales conversations, start putting that into content and, generating leads from these social media networks. Please reach out. Be happy to help.
Excellent. Thanks, Ronnie.
Yeah, thank
Take
you so
care.
much. Really appreciate it. Really fun conversation.
Of course. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks.